How's everyone doing? Good. My name is John Williams, and for the next 90 minutes, I'm going to be your guide on this journey called leadership. Now, some of you have been on this journey for a very long time. And for you tonight, maybe all you need is a little encouragement, maybe a gentle nudge, maybe just someone to kind of point you in the right direction. But others of you have yet to even begin the journey. In fact, you may not have even taken your first step. You may not even know where to begin. Regardless of which group you're in, tonight was specially designed for you. It's specially designed so when you walk out of this room, when you leave this session, you walk out better than the way that you walked in, stronger and a more effective leader. So here's how we begin. The first thing I want you to do is to ask yourself, what are the three most important things that you can get out of tonight? No one can answer that question for you. You have to answer it for yourself. What three things that if I could accomplish these things tonight during these 90 minutes with John, if I can do that, what three things would lead me to believe that tonight was a great investment of my time and my money? Have you answered that? And I want you to prioritize those in order of 1, 2, 3, most important, next most important, second most important, third most important. And then I want you to take the third most important one and I want you to kick it out. And that's going to leave you with your top 2 priorities. And then out of those top 2 priorities, I want you to choose the one that's most important. That's your one thing. See, you need to identify your one thing. Because this body of knowledge called leadership is vast. It's huge. We can't even begin to scratch the surface tonight. But if you know your one thing, tonight is going to be a huge success for you. And here's my commitment to you. That if you can determine your one thing, I will do everything within my power, everything within my ability to make sure that you accomplish that one thing. Maybe it will be during the session. If it's not, don't worry, because I'm going to hang around afterwards. And we can spend some time and we can talk. We can touch base and we can connect. In the materials that you have, you also have my email address. You also have a way to get in touch with me through my office. So even if after our 90 minutes together, you still haven't accomplished your one thing, and then maybe we can connect afterwards and you still haven't accomplished your one thing, all you need to do is send me an email or give me a call. I want to be a resource for you. Because my one thing is that I speak into your life tonight. My one thing is that I'm a value for you. And a resource not just for this evening, but a resource from this time on. Okay. So let's get started. If I were to ask you to define for me leadership, how would you do that? Is there anybody in here who would like to offer a definition? Shocker. That's okay. It just so happens that I have a definition. Actually, I have a few definitions. You know, Dwight D. Eisenhower, 34th President of the United States, Supreme Commander of U.S. Forces in World War II. He said that leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it. In other words, Ike said, leadership is getting somebody to do something that you want them to do, but they think it's their idea. You know, I guess it worked for him. I mean, he was the President of the United States. Tom Landry, longtime Dallas Cowboys football coach, won 270 games in the NFL. He said leadership is getting someone to do what they don't want to do in order for them to achieve what they want to achieve. Tom Landry felt that people in general want to achieve greatness, but they don't always want to do what it takes to do that. So a leader is someone who can get them to do that one thing in order for them to be successful. So again, I guess it worked for him pretty well. But for tonight, our operating definition of leadership is this. It comes from John Maxwell. I consider John Maxwell top of the food chain when it comes to when it comes to understanding what leadership is really about. And John Maxwell says this. He said, leadership is, ready? Influence. Pretty simple, right? He said that leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. Influence is your ability, it's my ability to change someone, to direct someone, and to redirect their thinking. Because the premise is, if I can redirect your thinking, if I can evolve your thinking, then I can evolve your behavior, what you do. That's leadership. So for tonight, that's what we're going to operate with. That leadership is influence. So my question for you tonight is, are you an influencer? Do you direct? Do you redirect? Can you change the way that people think about certain things? So if we can define what leadership is. If leadership is influence, what is leadership not? And I'm going to spend the rest of this section of our session talking about what leadership isn't. Trying to dispel, three basic myths. I'm going to be a myth buster tonight. The first is that leaders are born, not developed. Kind of been an age-old question, it's the whole chicken and egg thing. Are leaders born or leaders made? And I don't know where you come from, but where I come from, babies don't come out of their mothers and immediately start directing people, right? Never seen that. Okay. People are not born. Leaders are not born. They're created, they're developed. Now you may say, yeah, but certain people have personalities that make them better leaders. And I think what we're doing is we're confusing what we really mean. We're confusing terms. So your personality was pretty much set by the time you were 5. In fact, experts tell us between the ages of 3 and 5, your personality is set for the rest of your life. And having said that, I still have never seen a 5-year-old leading men, leading women. What we're really talking about are temperaments. Temperaments are they are how we flex our personality based upon any given context. So in other words, I act differently at home than I act at work, than I may act at church. And that's probably a good thing. Because if I acted at home like I act at work, my wife would have kicked me a long time ago. You know what I mean? So we have the ability to alter how our personalities are perceived by others based upon the situation we find ourselves in. Now, the ramifications of that is an act of will. You decide how you act in any given situation. And if that's the case, you can choose to be a leader or not. It's within your grasp. Leadership is skill-based. That means it can be learned, and theoretically, it can be perfected. So you may be sitting in here tonight and saying, you know what, I never thought I could really be a leader. I'm here to tell you and to encourage you. You can be a leader if you so choose. Now, here's why that's really important for you. Because if that weren't true, if leaders were born and not created, not developed, then you're wasting your time tonight, right? If that were the case, then if you are a leader, then you're a leader. You have no reason to be here because you were born a leader. There's nothing else you need to do. So you should just go on home and catch your favorite TV show. If you're not a leader, same thing. If leaders are born and not developed, then there's no reason for you to be here. Because if you're not a leader now, you'll never be a leader. But I'm here to tell you this, that you can be a leader. You can influence people. You can help people change and get better and grow, if you so choose. Myth number 2, that leadership is the same thing as management. You hear those words used interchangeably a lot, right? Management, leadership. And they're not. They're very distinct one from the other. And here's how. We manage processes, but we lead people. So let me say that again. Management and leadership are different because we manage processes. We manage things. We manage systems, but we lead people. People don't like to be managed. People don't like to be controlled. People don't like to be manipulated. But people do like to be led. In fact, most people crave to be led. Management is a second creation activity. Leadership is a first. Here's what I mean. Stephen Covey, in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says that in anything that we do, any endeavor that we undertake, goes through a two-step process. What he calls the first creation and the second creation. The first creation happens here. It happens here. It's internal. It happens in the heart. It happens in the mind. It's what we see in professional athletes when they visualize themselves succeeding. When I see the ball go through the hoop before it even leaves my hand. When I see the ball go into goal before I even kick it. When I see exactly where that receiver is going to be and exactly where I need to throw the ball before I even have it snapped to me. Okay? It's internal. Management is that second creation activity. That happens here. It happens externally. And what Covey tells us is that most of the time when we fail in any given endeavor, our failure is due to our failure to properly go through that internal process. Management is the external. It's the nuts and bolts of what we do. Leadership is internal. It's the passion. It's the planning. It's the strategy. It's the emotions of it. If we want the second creation, if we want the management of what it is that we're managing to succeed, then it has to first succeed in that first creation. Management has a bottom line focus. Management is concerned with things like profit and loss, return on investment, net operating income. Leadership is more interested in investing in people. Leadership is about doing the right things, the right ways, for the right reason. Now, don't get me wrong. Profit and loss is important to a business. Return on investment is important. Net operating income is important. But what leadership knows is if I do the right things, the right ways, for the right reason, those things will take care of themselves. Leadership is a high leverage activity. Management is a low leverage activity. Management, in short, is doing things right. And leadership is doing the right things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that management is not important. I'm not saying that it's less important than leadership. They're both very important. What I'm saying is they're two distinct things. And both of them are appropriate within their appropriate context. Leadership is not authority. Authority says, I know what's best for you. Authority says that I will push you in that direction based upon a system of punishment or reward. Leadership says that you know what's best for you. Inherently, you want to do well. Inherently, you want to work. You want to excel. If you're only given a conducive environment in which to do it, the resources and tools that you need, and the encouragement and direction. Leadership is not authority. Leadership is not management. Leaders are created. They're not born. Make sense? Everybody with me so far? How am I doing on time?
Good.
How much?
14.
14, okay. So, here's what I want to leave you with for this session. We're going to take a short break and then we'll come back and we'll pick up with what Maxwell calls the law of the width. But here's what I want. When you go on your break time, I want you to take a few minutes to meet somebody in here that you may not know. I want you to tell them what your one thing is. I want you to exchange that. I want you to find mutual encouragement with each other. And when we come back in this room, I want you to share with me a little bit exactly what your conversations were during your break. This is always a really fun time of the evening for me because it can get pretty crazy. But if you have any questions, any comments, great. And why don't we go ahead and take a 10-minute break? I'll let you know when it's time to come back in, and we'll resume. Okay.